Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the Asia Pacific GNI Innovation Challenge 2022. Before I begin, for those of you who might have attended our last stream, I wanted to apologize again for the fact that we had a technical hitch and we couldn't address your questions then. This is our attempt at making sure that we can ask and answer any questions that you might have from an innovation perspective, India perspective, anything that helps you. Um, Let me start by introducing the folks that we have today. Can we move to the next slide, please? So there are three of us who are going to run this Q&A/presentation for you. There's me, Durga. I lead news partnerships for India. There's Shweta, my colleague, who's the program manager for all things Google News Initiative for India. Consider her your point person for India activation. We also have, I'm delighted to add, Harshita, who has been a past recipient of the Innovation Challenge Awards. And she'll also help in explaining how the program helped them, as well as answer your questions if you might have any for her. Next slide, please. I'm going to take a minute to talk to you about why news is so important to Google. Sundar Pichai has said this in his own words, and how core it is to the Google mission of organizing knowledge, information, and making sure that you have access to quality content. Billions of users use Google products every day, Google search. Billions of users come to news website. And despite the challenges, we are very cautiously optimistic about news. The second thing I would also like to add is, throughout our experience over the last 20 years and working with news organizations across the world, we realize that the challenges are different for each and every one of you. And that is precisely the reason why we have an innovation challenge that looks at use cases that are specific to small, medium, large, vernacular, different kinds of news organization within our very diverse country. Next slide, please. In that context, we are very proud to announce this Asia Pacific GNI Innovation Challenge because it very, very centrally addresses this diversity and your interpretation of news and your user experiences within our larger news ecosystem. A little bit about the Innovation Challenge. We've had this is our third edition. So far, we've had almost 500 applications from 15 countries and 41 projects have been funded. Between 6 and 8 projects have been funded specifically for India, and we hope that there are way more that we can fund this year. Shweta, can I request you to move to the specifics of the challenge, please?
To start with the next slide, can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, talking about how does funding work, I'm going to start about, Google will be funding up to a maximum of $250,000 for selected projects. Now, the project amount requested by the publishers, it should reflect the scope of the project, and all approaches are welcomed, from small prototypes to test new things to more transformative and at-scale implementations. Now, out of the total project budget, Google will be financing up to 70%. So what does the eligible expenses include? It includes the personal cost, the engineering cost, the purchase or licensing of any equipment, tools, hardware, software, and other assets or materials needed for the project. Now, talking about the remaining 30%, that could be the resource allocation provided by the applicant itself. The self-funded portion can include the operational cost. Talking about marketing expenses, that should not exceed 20% of the total amount of the Google funding requested. Editorial expenses are not a part of the eligible cost, and this will not be covered. Funding may not be spent on any of the general and overhead cost. And with the last point, which is like, this is for the first time since the installment of the APAC GNI Innovation Challenge, applications can be submitted in any of the 7 local languages, APAC local languages, in addition to English. When we talk from an India perspective, you can send the applications in English or Hindi or Bengali.
Shweta, can I just spend a minute talking about how we think of innovation?
Sure.
So just to be clear, right? I think, what is a regular part of your product plan or a regular part of your distribution efforts? Please don't consider that as core applications for innovation, right? So when you think about innovation, you have to be breaking new ground that others can learn from, right? So while it is specifically solving a challenge you might have, think about how others can use it as well. And, be very, I think, challenge yourself in that interpretation of innovation. Thanks, Shweta.
Yeah, sure. Let's move to the next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. So what are we looking for? I think just as, Durga just explained, what are we looking for when reviewing for project submissions? Specific is the word, as we are not looking at, general digital roadmap for your company. So take this opportunity, as Durga mentioned earlier, to do something that you might have not done without this funding, or at this size or speed. So don't treat this as an extension of your business as usual operations, but take this as an opportunity to take on a big bold project or experiment that you've been considering since the longest, but you've not been able to kind of go ahead with that due to funding issues. Next slide, please. Yeah. In terms of the selection criteria, project proposals will be evaluated against 5 main criteria, as you can just see on the slides. So let me just briefly go through each of these points one by one. The first point being the impact on the news ecosystem. So preferred projects should demonstrate the potential for significant positive impact, for the wider industry. For example, collaborative approaches or open source projects, or just ideas that inspire others and foster innovative thinking for quality journalism. Second point, which is innovation. Now, preferred projects will take, say, for example, new approaches and be transformative for the applicant and for the users. Again, as I just explained before, it should not be business as usual. The third point being feasibility. Preferred projects should demonstrate their potential through clear indicators and expected metrics. They should set out key risk and mitigation steps. The selected projects will require a detailed plan, and it will have to be delivered within 12 months after the funding is received. The fourth point, which is inspiration. Preferred projects will show willingness to share knowledge and to contribute to the improvement of the ecosystem overall. So again, this can include activities such as attending events, penning blog posts, or contributing to case studies. Selected recipients will also be required to produce a public report with the learnings of the project. And last but not the least, diversity. Preferred projects will be, it needs to be able to demonstrate their self-defined commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, whether that is within their audience or organization or content. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, while each application is unique, here's a list of topics that you might consider building an innovation project around. And I think this is one of the most common questions that's been asked by a lot of publishers as to, what is it that Google is going to consider from an innovation perspective. So these are some of the examples that we are listing, but not necessarily it needs to be this only. If you have any innovative ideas apart from this, feel free to, apply for this program. I think we require, again, one more thing that I just want to emphasize on is that we require all projects to have clear indicators. Example, audience metrics, subscription growth, or say, for example, financial expected impact, showing the potential impact of the project from a user perspective or from a business perspective. So again, as explained previously, all the selected projects will require a detailed plan, and it will need to be delivered within 12 months after the funding is received. Now, some of the examples, as you can already see in the slides, the kind of projects that you can work on are: one, ways to increase reader engagement or reader revenue; second, developing and diversifying business models; third, business intelligence approaches to better leverage data capabilities; new methods of distribution; any project on combating misinformation or increasing trust in journalism, reaching new audiences, improving the efficiencies of workflows, exploring new technologies. So these are just some of the topics, but again, you can come up with n number of other topics that you are looking at innovation. Next slide, please. Okay, talking about what is it that is not eligible. Now, again, we don't want to waste your time, so we want to help you to focus on what is exactly needed. So don't forget that what we're looking at is for specific ideas that demonstrate new thinking in the practice of digital journalism, that support the development of, I would say, new business models, that explores new approaches to how news organizations engage with their communities, or I would say change the way users consume digital news. So just calling out on the projects that would not qualify for the Innovation Challenge funding, if these projects are limited to projects to creation of or publication of content without any specific innovative component. Second, projects related to news coverage only, or projects merely translating news content into other languages. Third, upgrades of legacy publishing systems. Fourth, projects that relate to simply collating or listing data, for example, publication of job listings or stock exchange data, or republication of newswire articles. Then the next point, projects on training or education, which which is like too narrow in scope and it do not qualify. And the last of us, projects that do not impact a news organization. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of the selection process, all applications will be, excuse me. Yeah, in terms of the selection process, all the applications will be reviewed by a project team, which is composed of experienced Google staff and external industry experts across the region. Now, the project team will be reviewing all the applications and interview all the shortlisted candidates to arrive at a recommended selection of projects for the final approvers, who are a panel of senior Google staff. Now, the final approvers will vote on the recommended list of projects and make the final decision before announcing this year's APAC GNI Innovation Challenge recipients. Next slide, please. Okay, now let me just quickly walk you through the application submission flow on the website in the next few slides. Now, as you can see from the screenshot, when you go to the slide and click on Apply Now, you will be led to the screen to complete your application form. Now, you will see different fields to insert your input, and part of this actually includes a checklist. After this is done, you will see you will see that as a part of the application, you will have to kind of complete it with a slide deck. Now, what is a slide deck? It is a template for your project proposals. So in the slide deck, you will see a lot of questions around what is the goal of your project, or what is the plan, the budget required for your project, what are the KPIs or success metrics you would be wanting to track or monitor. So all of these details will be required, on the slide deck. You will have to put in all of those details in the deck and submit it to us. So once all of this is complete, you can actually go ahead and click on Submit. Next slide, please. Yeah. Talking about the timeline, as you can see, we've already launched the program. You will have to submit your completed applications by the 23rd August 2022. But I would suggest that please see to it you are not waiting for the last minute, like, just sending your applications on 22nd, on 23rd. You still have a lot of time. See to it that you are completing your applications and sending it much in advance rather than waiting for the last minute. So once you send the applications, in October and November, we're going to be reviewing through it. And by the end of the year, which is somewhere around in December, we will be announcing all the recipients of this program. Next slide, please. Now, some tips for the applicants. Again, these are some pointers which Durga and I have already explained in the previous slides, but just reiterating on all of these points, just like, reminders before you're actually, going ahead and submitting your application. The first one, see to it that, before you start your applications, you are going through the terms and conditions and the FAQs carefully. Most of the questions that you may be having in your mind actually is covered in our FAQ session. So please see to it that, before applying, you are actually going and checking in the FAQ session for any of your questions that can be answered there. Second, no funding available for any pure content creation kind of projects. Third, again, that was explained before, projects should not be longer than 1 year in duration. Fourth, training and education projects are not eligible at all. The fifth point, collaborative projects are welcome. The next, again, as I explained in the previous slides, you need to clearly include indicators, and a defined monetization component if relevant. Add in all the metrics possible that you would be wanting to kind of measure at the end of the program. And the last one being, again, think about the impact on the news ecosystem, and again, describe how do you plan to share the learnings of your project. Again, if you have any kind of questions, please feel free to put in your questions, send in your questions to APAC GNI challenge at google.com, and our team, we will see to it that we respond to all of your questions that you may have. Next slide, please. Okay, now I would love to welcome our special guest, Harshita Verma. I think Durga has already given an introduction about her. She was a recipient of our last GNI Innovation Challenge, and she would be taking over from here and, talking you through how they started off with their project. Over to you, Harshita.
Thanks a lot, Shweta. Hi, everyone. Let's start with what we exactly do. So Khabar Lahariya was started in 2002 as a regional language Bundeli print newspaper, and where we cover stories from the village of northern Indian hinterland, and we cover stories from the geographies that you will not find on the internet. Our team involve women from the Dalit and marginalized communities, and we cover news that few of the media think is not newsworthy. These news stories revolve around stories like village not having housing, drainage, sanitization, and education facilities. On the next slide. So here, Khabar Lahariya shifts to digital only in 2016. That time we cover news only in Hindi and Bundeli languages. But in order to gain on board secondary English-speaking audience, we package our Hindi content into English, and we started content syndication. We got a good response out of that, and we got regular subscriber to our newsletters, supporters to our crowdfunders, and consumer to our news for research, advocacy, and training. Next one. Here enters a GNI. So as we have a loyal audience on board, their keenness to pay a small amount of fee for feature long form content, from KLB Kickstarter process to ideation, brainstorming, towards drafting and concretizing and implementing plans to build a product that we can offer to this secondary audiences specifically. But for all of that, we need some sort of support to do sessions with Indian and overseas audience members on content, pricing, tech, systems, and all of these things. With the support of GNI, we are able to complete the research and development part for our product. And they are so supportive throughout the process. Next is, here we launch our products called Sound Variant 4G in 2019, where we offered long-form, in-depth articles that focused on the rural youth, and we packaged them for the urban audiences. Next one. So here is the product journey so far. We launched our product Sound Variant 4G in 2019. That is mainly focused on the urban audiences. And over the period of time, we did surveys to know more about our audiences, their needs. We did experiments with the content, its formats, and did some online campaign as well. Bulk subscription was the one we are keen on doing that, but due to some technical challenges that we had at that time, we were not able to onboard more universities. But like in September 2021, we revamped our product, and like as we want more audience, more diverse audience for this product, the first thing we did was to rename the product to KL Hatke. That means something different. This name, because this name works for both the urban and rural audiences. Our primary audience is from the rural background only. So along with that, we did major tech changes to this product. We experiment with the interface, smooth onboarding of subscribers, and especially the bulk subscribers. We added more multimedia content to it, and we experimented with more formats like audio, podcast, and photo features, and all of these things to make it more interactive with the audiences. Next is our like revamped look of our product that is called KL Hatke. On the next slide. Yeah, and we like launched it as Sound Fury is now KL Hatke. So this is all about like about our product journey. And good luck for all the applicants who are like want to apply for this innovation challenge. Over to you, Durga.
Thank you so much, Harshita. And like Shweta has said, you can go to this link to know more, read the FAQs, and do the application. As you begin applying, if you have more questions, please use our email, which is the APAC GNI challenge at google.com, and ask your questions. We will try our best to answer them. Again, just as I think all of us have said, please type your questions. We are not unmuting folks to make it a discussion, but we will try and answer all your questions. Okay, Shweta, let me start with the first two, I think, and then maybe you can take over as well. So I think Sarman Nagle had a question. Do Indian companies have to take any kind of permission or license from the government of India to receive funds? No, you don't. It is something that we have taken care of, and there will be no challenges in that sense, right? Murli Krishnan Chinnadurai says, my company is giving consultations to news media houses in Tamil Nadu. In what category my company will come? So, you know, this application process is focused on publishers. So as a consultant, you're more than welcome to partner with a publisher, but the applying entry or the applicant needs to be a publisher. Is this applicable for Telugu language also? Yes, it is applicable for all languages. And, you know, I think presenting your application in English is important, but you know, we are not looking for essay writing, right? We're not looking for creative writing. We are literally looking at just logical, structured applications that show strong vision, good execution thought, and strong metrics, right? And a realism that this will have impact and it can be implemented over 12 months.
Yeah, Durga, just adding on one more thing to your point. So just because, you know, we mentioned that you can send your applications in English, in Hindi or Bengali doesn't mean that only these three languages are applicable. You can actually apply across any, like, if you're a publisher in, like, you know, for example, Telugu or Malayalam or any other languages, you can apply in English. It's just that the application form is not available, you know, in your particular languages apart from English or Bengali or Hindi. But open to applying in English, there is no problem at all. Thanks, Philip, for sharing the success stories to Chandan. Any more questions? Please feel free to, you know, put it in the chat box. Otherwise, I've already, you know, mentioned the email ID where you can actually, you know, send in questions, and our team will see to it that we respond to all of you all. Murali, is that a question? An option tech startup is also there. Yeah, but tech news startup, it has to be a news publisher. Yeah, so as long as it's a new startup, absolutely fine. There's no problem at all. Hope that answers your questions, Murli.
Any questions for Harshita? I think having her here is a resource, whether it's on the application or anything specific, that might also be useful.
Yeah, if you have any questions in terms of, how did they apply, or any questions from a project point of view to Harshita, yeah, feel free to ask her and she's there to answer. Praneeth, again, as we've already mentioned, you need to submit your applications before August 23rd. That's the deadline. So see to it that you're submitting your applications and project plan before that. Don't wait for the last minute. See to it you're applying before August 23rd. Suresh from Bickerton, do you mean the presentation that we just presented now? Is that what you're expecting? If that is what it is, then we would be uploading the entire recording on our Google News Initiative YouTube channel. So you can, if you want to kind of go again through the entire presentation, you can go and check it there.
But just to add that all this information is available in the GNI website, as in, let me just share the link as well.
Yep. Yeah, so you can just go to the FAQ session and you can actually find out all the questions that you're actually asking here. It's already there in the FAQ session, so you can just go there and you can kind of find out all of the answers there. And if you feel that you have a particular question and it is not in the FAQ session, please feel free to kind of email it to us at the email ID that's already provided, and we'll see to it that we'll respond to that.
So I think two other questions. Can publishers who have been awarded a previous grant by YouTube also apply? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Another one on how many types of categories like entertainment. Okay. No, I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but it has to be core to news publishing, which means that the constituents of news, which is not necessarily, I mean, it has to do with events, right, that are happening in the world / in our case, India, different parts of India, different languages, different beats, absolutely. So think of news as a core element. Can some of it also be scaled to entertainment news? Sure, right? But I think news, we are looking at the core news segments of people, place, etc.
So I think Sarman, with your question, which is there any special help for Hindi portals? So I would say that we only offer the application website in Hindi and the form in Hindi, but yeah, nothing with respect to any other technical help that you're kind of expecting. Any more questions coming up, or we can just take in the last two questions and just wind off with the session. And again, feel free to add questions if you have any for Harshita. She's here. She's happy to discuss her story with you all.
I think there's one on content creation, right? I think what we mean to say is, if you want to just publish or scale 100 more stories in some particular area for pure content writing, this is not the right challenge. I think that kind of applicant will not be considered as part of the innovation challenge. Can content be part of your product initiative or your experience? Absolutely, right? That is not a problem. But this cannot be there for just scaling content. I think Harshita's example, for instance, Harshita, you want to talk a little bit about the integration of content into your larger product vision?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So basically, we want to bridge the gap between the rural audiences and the urban audiences. Our primary audiences from the rural India, and we cover or we do stories from the rural India only. And we want to bring those stories to the urban audiences. So here is the content creation part. And some of the like mainstream, as I said, mainstream media think like these news are not newsworthy. Like people in the villages are not having the housing facilities. So
No, I
how?
think correct. That's kind of stories, but I think fundamentally it was a subscription program, right?
Yeah.
So I think there was a business concept
Yeah.
slash
Mhm.
she was figuring out how to generate a new revenue stream, right? So within the subscription program, obviously there's content thinking, growth and distribution, but the subscription program was the primary innovation.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll have to cover all aspects of the project plan, right? Because that, or let's put it this way, what is the rationale for you asking for a certain budget? Which means every aspect of, so you're covering cost, you're covering, costs in terms of, things to do with engineering. Maybe you need developers, maybe you need designers, maybe you need project planners. So there could be like a team, there could be demos that are required, there could be different kinds of costs. All of it is important. Would I don't know if there's a specific question that asks about a future projection. Perhaps not, I don't remember. But I think the application form is pretty self-explanatory, so I would urge you to just go through the FAQs in the application process.
And the other question, I think, Srikumar, that you had with respect to model of the project plan, as I already explained in the previous slides, when you go to the application form, there is a slide deck. You can download that slide deck and it will actually have the template of how you should be submitting your project plan. So once you download, you will get the template. Hope that answers your question. Yeah, and again, the slide deck is available in Hindi and Bengali apart from English. So for all of the Hindi publishers who are out there, you can absolutely submit your project plan in Hindi, or the ones in Bengali you can submit in Bengali, and the rest you can submit it in English. Harshita, I think there's a question for you from Murali. I think he's asking how Chambal Media described its milestone during the application, first quarter, second quarter. Yeah, how have you done that?
Yeah, so like this is a subscription product. So like our main aim is to like how fast or how diverse our audience or subscribers can be. So we set our internally we set some numbers for us, like for the product team and who is involved in ideation and creating this product. So we have like some set of numbers of subscribers that we can onboard, along with the interface, like how can this content be a user friendly, how they can access this on our website. That includes tech also and the interface. Third thing was the bulk subscription, that now we have a smooth onboarding and process of bulk subscription. But that was in our mind from the very starting. So like we set these kind of targets for ourselves and for our team.
Thanks, Harshita, for answering that. Any more questions, anyone?
I think there is how KPIs are measured. So first we calculate the cost, like how, like what are the different costs that are involved in this product, and what are the total cost we are spending on this product. And based on that, we set the targets for us. Like for the first 6 months, I think we discussed that let's not think about getting more revenue out of it, but getting the amount we are spending on this particular project. So for the first 6 months, we are focused on getting what we are spending on this product. And for the next 6 months, we set more higher targets for this product. Hope this helps.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for asking so many relevant questions. Harshita, thank you for speaking about your experience. Shweta, can I just request you to share the email address again, in case any of you have any more questions after going through the application. Salman, the application process is fairly simple. It is very clear. Please go through it. I'm fairly confident that folks will be able to you know, get through it without much difficulty. If you do have specific questions while you're applying, please write to us and we will try and get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Look
Bye.
forward to a lot of applications.
Yeah,
Thank
looking forward for a lot of applications coming in.